Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to the third episode in the Linux Basics series. If you haven't seen the previous episodes, check out the playlist. And in this episode we're gonna look at some network related utilities. These are the commands we're gonna be covering, some cool ones in there. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you missed anything, shout at me in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. Let me know that you like this kind of content. Without further ado, let's dig into the video. Alright, let's start with the first command, and the first command is IP. If you type IP, then you see that you can type IP and then options on an object and then a command. One of the most common use cases for IP will be probably getting your IP address. If you want to do that, you type IP add. And here you have an overview of all your network interfaces, loopback, Ethernet, that's if you plug in a network UTP cable, Docker, because I installed Docker, and WLAN for wireless. And as you can maybe see, I'm connected to a wireless network at this moment. If you were familiar with the command ifconfig, so if you were familiar with the command ifconfig, this is not installed. And that's because it's a deprecated command. And the same is with netstat. Netstat is also not installed, also deprecated. So I'm using OpenSUSE. Well, I think most of the modern distributions would have these commands not installed because they're deprecated. But luckily for us, there are alternatives. And there's also a cheat sheet showing these alternatives. And here you have the IP command cheat sheets from Enterprise Red Hat Linux. So you see the IP address. You can add an IP address and you have several other commands. And here you have the mapping of the nettools commands. These are the old commands like ifconfig and netstat are in there. And here we have the equivalent in the new IP commands. So if you're coming from an old stack and old commands, just have a look at these commands. So IP and SS are interesting. And that brings us to the next command. I will have the link to the cheat sheet in the show notes. So the next command will be equivalent of netstat. And that's actually doing SS command. If you want to list the connections that are listening, you hit -L. And if you want to list all the listening TCP connections, you add a T in there, should be less. So if you really want to have a quick overview what's currently listening on your local machine, then you add LT and you have it very quickly. And as you can maybe see, then you have the LT, it translates, and I just want the numeric ports, you add LTN, so it doesn't translate it to which service. If you want to know which process is using the port, add the P in there. There you can see. Here syncfing and KDE Connect is using those. So just have a look at man SS to figure out what you need. I think it's quite user friendly actually. Next command is ping. If we, for example, ping google.com, then if you hit Ctrl+C, it will stop it. And first we'll be translating google.com to an IP address, as you can see here. And then you see the sequence, so 1, 2, 3, this increments, and the TTL, time to live, and then the ping time is around 10 milliseconds. And there's other commands you can do with ping. So for example, count the amount of stop after sending count. So if you want to ping 3 times, do just add C and then 3, it will do it 3 times. And it's done. So to prevent the whole loop, you can choose another interface if you want. and you can do a timeout if you want as well. So the time it takes for the timeout if it doesn't respond. The packet size you can change if you want, and you can also do a flooding of ping, but I will not recommend you do that. But to test the server, maybe locally, you can do a flood command, sends more commands per second then. So ping sends ICMP commands over the network. So if you see somewhere ICMP, it's related to ping. All right, so next command will be wget. And wget the main use case for wget will be to get a file from the internet, basically. So this is an example of wget getting a war file for Jenkins and just downloading it. And you see the progress bar. And after some time, it should have downloaded the war file, as you can see here. So you can also use wget to get whole websites, to mirror them. So if you want to grab a page, you can easily do wget. So for example, if you want to grab a page, a README file from the internet, you can grab it like this, wget. But you can also grab HTML and other files. So the next command is SSH, and SSH is a very well known command, and it's secure shell. And you use SSH to connect to a different machine. So I just got that README file. Let me cat that README out, because there are some examples of SSH in there. So here, for example, let's go to this one, for example. So multiplayer Tetris, very, very nice. Let's open up. No, we can copy paste it in here. So this one. So I have my SSH key is protected with password. I need to type it. And here I'm now connected to a different machine, which hosts Tetris basically. And yeah, it's pretty cool, right? So yeah, let's quit out of this, and you connect to a different shell over the network. And the last command, and that's really a big one, is curl. Curl. So in curl you can do lots of stuff. And here you see all the supported protocols. And you can also interact with programs over a certain protocol on the network. And for example, so if you curl weather.in, and for example, Zoetermeer, that's the city, and here you have the weather in Zoetermeer, south of Holland. So you interact, and this is actually a website you get. And the previous command I showed you, the whole README file, let me open it up. Now this is a README file with awesome console services, user Chubin on GitHub. And you have various commands you could do with curl, like get the IP address from yourself. So let's say you have some text to share and you want to echo hello world, for example. And let's do it in this one. So let's paste it in there. This is the link, and you can share this link with someone else. And there's some text in there. So this is using curl to write to a network address, or this is using netcat, but it's similar. Probably you also have curl. Let me stick with curl. So let's use this one. Here you have that hello world text. Let's do another one. This is test tag. And you have a random unique link each time. So you can easily share some code snippets on the network using curl. Pretty cool, right? And I guess that curl must be one of the coolest commands in this series. So let's go to curl.se. This is the homepage. And here you have another get help, video presentations. And there's lots and lots and lots of videos about curl. And the one I showed you with the weather, this is from this one. There's also some cool stuff in there. So there's lots of stuff to dive into with curl. And yeah, just start using it. I use it a lot actually. So a different use case for me as well to use curl is for test automation. So one example of using curl would be, for example, if you're working on an API. Let's say you have this one. So I've my API key I've stored as a variable. Let's paste it in there, and then we have the API key. There you go. So double quotes, and then this works. So if you would like to practice with sending some requests to a server and just tinker around with it without installing too much other utilities. You would, for example, get these coordinates for this weather API, and you can use curl for that. So some other cool stuff with curl. Let's go back to this page again. So really the command line galore, I would say. Here you have some generators as well. Some of these are not working. Just so for example, a dad joke. How do you steal a coat? You jacket. All right. Must be one of the worst jokes. And some other stuff. Let's do the search and display GIFs in your terminal. And I guess you should add slash there, and for example, IT crowd. There you go. Let's display some GIF in your terminal, animated, and let's do Linux. Why not? There you go. So pretty cool, right? So I think curl is very interesting to dive into. And that sums up the network related utilities. So I hope you had fun, and there's certainly more. But yeah, that's about it. See you.